All right, welcome back to the Homestand Show. Justin Pooney filling in for James Sharman, Albert Vartan here. And now we're joined by Steven Psihogios of NorthStar Bets. The last time he was on the show, he went 2-1 with his picks. So we won some money. At least I won some money because I tailed it. Usually I don't tail guests, but
Yeah.
Stevie Psihogios of NorthStar Bets.
There's one guy you want to tail. It's Stevie from
Stevie,
NorthStar.
how are you, buddy?
Hey, good. How you guys doing?
Doing well, man. Let's talk about Auston Matthews. You just wrote a piece that's up on northstarbets.ca questioning whether or not he's starting to heat up. What do you think?
I think he is. If you look at the last 3 games, he's got 4+ shots on goal in each of those games, which is, it doesn't sound like a lot from Matthews, but it is. It's the first time since December that he's managed to string 3 games in a row with 4+ shots on goal. And that's just something we've seen Matthews be a little bit more selective with his shot choice this year. And that factor with a combination of his shooting percentage dropping from the really high, like 17.2% that he was firing off last year, is kind of why we're not seeing him score at the rate he was. But I'm encouraged by the amount that he's shooting as of late. And that goal against the Devils, I think, what better opportunity, what better way to springboard a hot streak down the stretch than with a beautiful game winner like that.
But Stevie, it is a bit concerning. He has 4 goals, just 4 goals in his last 10 games. I mean, for a guy of Auston Matthews' caliber, it's just not good enough, right? And the big talking point around the Toronto Maple Leafs right now is Auston Matthews going to be at his best come playoffs? Because, out of everything that the Leafs have done, if he's not at his best, this team's not going to click. It doesn't matter who you brought in.
Yeah, it's true. But I think what we're seeing is just some natural regression from Matthews. He shot at like over 17% last year, shooting percentage wise. His career mark is 15%. He's shooting closer to 12 this year. So you do the math, it kind of averages out to what his career mark is. And we see it all the time with players after a big season. It's not that shocking to see them maybe scale it back a little bit. But the one thing that is concerning is the shot volume as far as the goal scoring standpoint. And if you're looking to bet Matthews to score a goal, that's what's been worrisome from that standpoint. But now that we're starting to see him shoot the puck a little bit more, I'm a little bit more encouraged about his recent results than I have been based on what we've seen basically since, December was the last time we had those 3 games in a row with 4+ shots. So if you can start stacking these high shot volume games together, I think you can see him start to turn it around.
The goals haven't been there for Matthews this year, but he's still on pace to get around 40, which for any other player other than named Auston Matthews is considered a very good year.
That's a great
bad season, right? But Matthews has been picking it up on the defensive side of the game his game. He's leading the league in block shots for forwards, and he's on pace to get 45 assists this year as well. Talk about his defensive abilities this year and just all-around playmaking as well, and what you've seen from Auston Matthews minus the goal scoring this year.
Well, the Maple Leafs, what is their biggest knock? They can't win in the playoffs. And how do you win in the playoffs? You play a full 200-foot game. You surrender defensively, maybe a little bit more. You throw your body up there a little bit more than Matthews has in the past. And he is doing that. He's blocking a lot more shots, as you mentioned, Justin. He's maybe sacrificing some of that offense for defense, and it's paying off as far as the wins go. The Maple Leafs, if they were in any other division, they're right there competing for first place. They're in the Atlantic. They're in there with the Boston Bruins. It stinks, but they're having a really good year, and he's making an impact at both ends of the ice, and they know that's what's needed in the playoffs. They saw what Tampa Bay did last year in a 7-game series. They've seen what the Bruins have done in past years. Those are teams, you got players like Bergeron, Braden Point. Those guys sell out defensively to win hockey games. And I think that's rubbing off on the Maple Leafs. They've had a front row seat to those 2 franchises for the last 4 or 5 seasons in the playoffs. So they're, I think, starting to figure out, okay, maybe we can't score 50, 60 goals. Maybe in order to win hockey games, you got to scale back some of the offense and play a little bit more defensively.
Definitely. Another team trying to make it into the playoffs, the Ottawa Senators, dealt some bad news. Cam Talbot, he's going to be out, projected to miss about 11 games, 3 weeks with lower body injury. He's already missed 18 games this season, but this comes at such a bad time for the Sens, who are hot. I mean, 6-3-1 in their last 10, just 5 points out of the second wild card spot behind Pittsburgh. Right now, this obviously comes at the wrong time. Do you limit the Sens' chances of making the playoffs now that he's out for a little bit?
It hurts. It definitely hurts, but it's not like Talbot was having a crazy season in the first place. His save percentage was right around .905, and that's the Sens have a few goalies that have been kind of giving them that type of goaltending. He is a streaky goaltender. There are games where Cam Talbot will steal you a point, Remember, they played the Bruins earlier this year, and he stood on his head. I believe he set his career best for saves in a game. But there's also times where Talbot will let in a leaky goal that you'll scratch your head and wonder, how did that get past him? So to me, it stinks, but it's not like he was providing the Sens with top-tier goaltending. He's a veteran presence, which I'm sure on a young team means a lot. But that being said, they've got a young goaltender in Matt Sogard, who I think is looking pretty solid in the NHL. I know they got roughed up the other night against Chicago. It was probably going to be a bit of a stretch for the Sens to make the playoffs anyways. But for them as a team, it's good that they're in this playoff hunt and they can realize what it takes to maybe get there. And Pierre Dorion rewarded them by adding Chychrun. So I think this is just a good learning experience from Ottawa. I think you'll see them inch a little bit closer and into the playoffs next year.
Yeah, I put some money on the Sens last week after the Chychrun trade to make the playoffs.
So did I. 6-1.
Stevie, was that a smart move by me, or was that just a bad move now, looking back at it?
That's good value. You look, they're right in the race, and they've been one of the best teams in the league outside of that drubbing against the Blackhawks. They've been really solid, Ottawa. So I think that's good value. I think at 6-1, they've got as good a shot as any team looking into the playoffs does in the Eastern Conference. Washington's starting to fade. Florida, it's like, when are they ever going to get it going? We've been waiting all year for that team to show us something, and they haven't. So I think Ottawa's put themselves right in the mix. Buffalo, those are the two teams that I think if one team is going to jump into the playoff picture, it's going to be one of those two who are currently sitting just outside of it.
Stevie, 11 games on the card tonight. The Sens take on the Kraken. They're on the ice. What do you like tonight? The last time we were on here, like we mentioned, you went 2-1. So we're looking for some winners once again.
I like the Devils 60-minute money line. I know they burnt me the last time I was on here. I'm back on New Jersey. That's at plus 106 over on NorthStar Bets. I also like the over in the Tampa Bay Vegas game. Last time I checked, the total was still at 6, and at minus 115, you could have the over. There's not going to be any Aiden Hill in that tonight. Jonathan Quick is going to start for the Golden Knights now that they're down 3 goalies. Brossois, Thompson, and Hill all dealing with injuries. Quick has not been good this year. So I like the over on that to hit. The Bolts have been playing a lot of open ice hockey. They'll give up some goals. They'll score some goals. And then for my third bet, I like the under 6 between the Penguins and the Islanders. The Islanders are locking it down defensively right now, and Sorokin's money in net. That's a big game too. That's a big 2 points between two teams who are in the wild card right now in the East. So I expect that to be a tight checking game.
Love that. Stevie, we have 2 minutes left, but I want to get your take on this. Sean, if you can pull up this tweet that I found on Twitter by one Stevie Psihogios. He said on Daniel Jones, the Giants just locked themselves into being mid. Please explain yourself here, my friend.
And explain mid for Albert, too, because he's kind of in the older generation as well.
So I think Daniel Jones is the perfect average quarterback. And in the NFC right now, an average quarterback can get you in the playoffs because there's a lot of bad quarterbacks. But Daniel Jones isn't going to get you to the Super Bowl. I was very impressed by what Daniel Jones did last year. Nobody expected him to make that big of a leap. But what was the biggest reason everyone said he made that leap? The biggest reason everyone was pointing to was Brian Daboll. So if we're going to give Brian Daboll Coach of the Year because he was able to work miracles on a quarterback, that should tell you something about the quarterback. If we're giving Daboll all this credit for working miracles on Daniel Jones, what does that say about Daniel Jones? It says he needs a miracle worker to be an average quarterback in the NFL. So to me, to give that guy that type of contract, you're not going to go anywhere, especially when you have all these quarterbacks. Like, quarterback movement is up now in the NFL more than ever. You got Lamar Jackson sitting there waiting for someone to throw him an offer, and you're there just locking yourself into Daniel Jones. It doesn't make any sense to me.
You know what? If I need to be a perfectly average person to make 150 mil, sign me up. Quickly, 30 seconds, one word. Lamar Jackson will be a blank next season.
Well, he'll be a Raven. He'll be a Raven. That's he's not going anywhere, unfortunately. It doesn't sound like it.
Smart money on that.
All right, there you go. That's
been
Steven Psihogios of NorthStar Bets. Thank you so much. Let's do it again soon.
Yeah, likewise. I enjoyed it. Take care, guys.